All right, guys. When it comes to writing a poem, everything becomes such an important decision because it's an art form that's so concise and precise, right? So even things like determining the perspective that your piece is going to take has huge ramifications for the entire poem. And today we're going to be looking at just that, looking at a piece by Mr. Quitsit, looking at how does the perspective inform us about the speaker, about the other characters, and everything that is happening inside of a poem. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Fine Print. This is your weekly poetry analysis show, hosted by us at the Verses, us being me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It reminds of breath. We're going to begin by looking at the poem itself, and then we'll kind of start looking at what's happening specifically with the speaker. If that's cool, say cool. Let's take a look at the poem. Thanks again to Mr. Quizit for allowing us to dive into the piece. It's greatly appreciated. It's untitled, at least to the best of my knowledge. Shunned by the popular groups, the little boy walked his own path where none could see him, mock, make fun of him. He did not choose to look different. Fate gifted him an appearance he could not hide from, no matter how many tears shed, nor the many prayers offered to just be normal, like other kids. He would not see for many years the flowers his tears helped bloom, nor those who followed silently behind on the path he blazed from necessity, because he only ever looked down, unable and unwilling to observe there were others like him who needed the strength he did not feel he possessed, until he turned to look behind, noticing for the first time the group he unknowingly created on the colorful trail he forged, and felt long elusive tranquility. Thanks again to Mr. Quissit for allowing us to dive into the poem. Now, some things that we want to kind of just immediately make clear. So we have a third person perspective, right? We have the he of the piece, but there's another character. But there are other characters, right? Most notably, there is the speaker themselves. And it's hard to know when we have these like sort of third person pieces, it's hard to know. Sometimes the speaker, and if there's a third person like he or she, sometimes they're the same really. Sometimes they're different and we're just kind of projecting. Okay. So let's kind of see what we can learn. What we can learn about the speaker here. We'll kind of just go line by line a little bit. I think one of the most interesting things about third person in their relationship with the speaker is trying to understand where are the associations coming from. So for instance, the shunned, is that from the perspective of the little boy, or is that like, does the little boy, would they describe the situation like that, or is that the speaker making that assessment? You know, shunned is it's a strong word. There's some subjectivity to that potentially in terms of, you know, how someone may feel in the situation. So is that an assessment that's leveled by the speaker, or is that the the little boy would use that word choice? And I think it's also tricky too because this also ties into concepts like how reliable is a speaker. So when they give us these sorts of assessments, why should we trust them? Okay, and I think oftentimes we don't end up trusting them if we really kind of dig down. So that's kind of something I'm really curious about is this shunned. I don't know who's assessing it, who's determining that. But we'll keep moving. Shunned by the popular group. Same thing with like popular. Who's determining that these are the popular kids? Is it the little boy or is it the speaker? Um, the little boy walked his own path where none could see him. It's interesting too because that assessment, is that the speaker noting that, oh, no one can see him, or is that the little boy being intentional? Like, I'm going to walk here where no one can see me. Mock or make fun of him. Okay, again, similar things. So like, you know, there's the objective situation. The little boy walked to his own path is a little bit of subjectivity, but the objective thing is the little boy is walking in a place. But these other things, like the motivations, we don't know. Are these motivations from the actual little boy, or is this the speaker imposing them onto the little boy, right? Um, he did not choose to look different. Is that, again, an assessment made by the little boy? Does the little boy take a moment to think, man, I didn't choose this? Or is this the speaker kind of imposing it onto the little boy? Um, these sorts of phrases, just with the language they use, and it's hard because I don't really know the age of the little boy. So that's a factor too. But if it really is a little boy, some of the language here suggests to me that this is the speaker imposing. Sorry about the spike. So some of the language here I think is really interesting because to me I think some of the language is suggesting big lag spike. Whoa, sorry about the lag spike there, guys. Thanks for hanging with me. I think a lot of the language is suggesting that some of these projections are not from the little boy's perspective, but from the speaker. The speaker is coming off as someone older. Because I don't, again, it's hard because I don't know the little boy's age, but like something like he did not choose to look different. Is that the language that a little boy would use? Fate gifted him an appearance. Again, is that language that a little boy would use? So I'm seeing a lot of projection, what I view as projection onto the little boy. I don't know if this is really the little boy talking. This feels more like someone else. This feels more like someone else talking about the little boy. Fate gives him an appearance he could not hide from, no matter how many tears shed. So when we have these sorts of projections onto a character, an outside third person, or like an outside perspective talking about a third person character, something I get really interested in is why the investment. Why does this outside person care so much about the other character? Why is this speaker so involved in the experience of this little boy? And I think a common reason for that is that the little boy and the speaker are the same, just separated by time. Perhaps it doesn't always work out that way, but I think frequently it does. Um, and that's where things like having shifts like to a sudden like first person and things like that can be really intriguing. I don't think that happens in this case here, but that can do a lot of revealing. Um, I think it also calls into question why did we choose, if it is the case, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is the case that the little boy and the speaker are the same, then the question becomes the role of the third person. So, like, if we choose to use a third person net perspective, what does that suggest about characterization? What does that tell us about distancing? It's ironic. You have this kind of traumatic situation here, but then so what is using a third person, describe yourself in the third person? It creates a sense of distance. It's like a defense mechanism, right? Um, even though the situation is ending on a positive. Um, so I think what's the lesson here? And again, I don't know about the intentions of the piece and things like that, but that's for maybe for your own pieces, playing with perspective a lot more, analyzing these sorts of relationships. How can you use them to your poem's advantage? Um, how can you subvert them? Fate gives him an appearance he could not hide from, no matter how many tears shed, nor the many prayers offered to just be normal like other kids. Because there's a lot of interiority here, right? This speaker knows a lot about this little boy that my guess no one else knows. It sounds like a lot of this stuff is very secretive, and no one else, sees him doing these things. He would not see for many years. These shifts, when When a character suddenly does something that they haven't done before, I see this a lot even with my clients for my teaching business. You know, one of the things I ask when I get a new student, one of the things I'm always curious about is I'm trying to figure out why are they signing up for a class? Because they didn't sign up for a class, a month ago or a year ago. They signed up for a class or a consult or like a talk, today. And usually there's some sort of impetus for it. Something changed in your life that caused you to change, you to do something different. So when I see this, um, he would not see for many years the flowers his tears helped bloom. The thing I'm curious about, and you don't necessarily have to include it in the poem, but like the thing I'm really curious about, what brought about that change? Because he could have gone on for many more years not seeing, but something brought him to see. What brought him to see? I'm very intrigued by that idea. He would not see for many years the flowers his tears helped bloom, nor those who fall silently behind on the path he blazed. So this is really interesting too, right? Because the perspective now we're seeing other people or other things. He would not see for many years the flowers his tears helped bloom. But the speaker is aware of them, right? Nor those who follow silently behind on the path he blazed from necessity. So the little boy doesn't see him, but the speaker does. Which also kind of calls into question, well, maybe the speaker and the he aren't the same. Because there's not enough information about the seeing and how it happened. Because if he didn't see it at the time, it's not like you can't, if you're a kid and you don't see something, it's not like you learn about it later and then you can see it. It doesn't work like that. Like if you didn't see it, you didn't see it. I mean, you can like imagine it, but you can't see it again. So that sort of outside perspective could suggest that the speaker is not the same as the little boy. I would like to know your guys' thoughts. Is the little boy the speaker, the omniscient speaker, or are they two different entities? I can see arguments for either. Nor those who follow silently behind on a path he blazed from necessity. I think it's interesting, not our focus for today, but I think it's interesting to contrast between flowers from, flowers blooming. He calls them flowers to bloom, but he's also blazing a path, blaze fire. So like there's this sense of creation, but also a sense of destruction, and both of them leading to similar results, which I think is interesting. Because he only ever looked down. Okay, so again, we see the speaker making this observation. Unable and unwilling to observe. So again, is that an assessment? Would the little boy admit that, or is that something that the speaker is, projecting onto the little boy? There were others like him who needed the strength he did not feel he possessed. So now we get this speaker that's projecting on the others too, right? I mean, maybe there are others who need that strength that he doesn't possess, or maybe that's just an assumption that the speaker is making. This speaker is very interesting. How do we know this? Until he turned to look behind. What caused him to turn? If he's never turning around to look behind this entire, why did he suddenly do it then? Noticing for the first time the group he unknowingly created. On the colorful trail he forged. It felt long, elusive tranquility. Kind of feels like a bow ending there, but that's another thing. So I think there's lots of little moments here that are very interesting, but the biggest thing is this relationship between the speaker and the little boy. Okay. But regardless, the big thing to take away and apply to your own pieces as you're writing your poems, why are you choosing the perspective? We're actually doing a lot of I don't know if you guys have seen on the channel, we've been posting some videos. We had a workshop with Ajane a long time ago. but she's going to be part of our upcoming talk. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, in December, we have an event called a Write Up for 2025 in Columbus. We have a bunch of poets that are going to be speaking to the theme of advice to myself as a younger poet. So if you're in Columbus and you're interested in attending, I encourage you to register soon at theversuspoetry.com because the ticket prices will be going up. So if you're interested, again, go to theversuspoetry.com and be sure to register for tickets to that event if you want to hear poets talking. But one of the things we've been posting on the channel recently is Ajane Dawkins, the poet. She ran a workshop just kind of talking about ethics in writing and like perspective and stories and who stories belong to and who can they potentially harm. And, just like questions to ask ourselves to make sure we're really understanding the choices we're making and how they not only impact us, but the characters in the poems, but also the people that they're based on in real life. There's a lot of ethical questions that come up. I feel like this piece fits right in line with them, especially with the use again of a third person versus a first person. Matthias in the house. Matthias was just at a film festival yesterday, which is really exciting. Okay, he'll let us know how it went, hopefully. So yeah, let us again know your own thoughts on the perspectives here. Other things that you noted that we didn't have time to mention or that maybe eluded us. But I also want to again extend a thank you. Matthias said good times at the festival. That's great. Again, I want to extend a thank you to Mr. Quetzer for allowing us to kind of just take a look at perspective in the piece. Okay. We'll be back with more things. We'll be doing another episode of Fine Print next Sunday. In the meantime, we also have on Tuesday our live stream video podcast, Diverse is Live. So that'll be Tuesday, right around like 9:40 p.m. Wednesday, we have Lo-Fi Poet, where we listen to beats and write to prompts. Thursday, we have our Poet Business Institute workshop. Okay, this week we're again going to be editing poems. And again, those are limited to 4 attendees maximum. So just some things to keep an eye out for. Once more, my name is Jeff. Thank you for spending some time with us on Sunday night dedicated to poetry. I hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, good afternoon. Take care, Matthias. I'll see you later this week, man. All right, you guys, take care. Bye.